Espy'S. That was just crazy, man. I think the coolest part was when they announced what we had won, like the Male Athlete of the Year for Gatorade. Actually, it was Mahomes and Kelce. Like they like looked down and they gave you like a nod of respect, and that was like the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
What's up, guys? Josh and Bill, owners of Baseball Lifestyle, here with Max Clark with an exclusive interview. We're going to dive into a bunch, so let's get it rolling, man.
Let's get it rolling.
Let's kick it off. We were talking a lot about your car before, so I want to start with that. Corvettes, big thing for you. Talk about your car, a little bit about you with cars and why that car specifically.
Yeah, no, I mean, ever since I was a kid, you know, my grandpa had three growing up, so like when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was ride around in it. All I wanted to do was like go be in the Corvette, hang out with him, and just do whatever I could to be in that car. It was like he had a black one, a silver one, and like a chrome. And it was like there was like a difference between the silver and chrome, which I always thought was crazy because it's like the same color. But I swear it was just three distinct cars, and they were all different models, and it was crazy to see. But sadly, he passed away when I was 4. So the only memory I had of him was riding around in those cars. So like even before I was good at baseball, even before I knew I was going to be a professional baseball player, a collegiate baseball player, whatever, I knew that I wanted a Corvette when I grew up. And then sure enough, you know, you were blessed with that opportunity to go get one. So having that in possession and having, you know, walk into a dealership and be like, there it is, that's the one, is super special. And like that was a really, really cool moment for me, obviously because of how like the sentimental value is, but it's also like a job accomplished. You know, obviously it's a big accomplishment to be drafted, but you're still a long, long way. But it's nice to like reward yourself with little things here and there for all the hard work that you've put in. And that was definitely the one thing that was able to be checked off the list very, very early.
So like we were talking a little bit about it before, but like Corvettes have changed a lot even from like Grandpa's Corvette. Like what do you see as like the biggest difference between the one that you got and the one that your grandfather had?
Definitely the mid-engine. So obviously back then it was all in the front, and now they're all in the back. So I have a C8, and so like when you turn that thing on, you hear it just like right in your ear, and I love that because like there's no better sounding car than a Corvette.
It's angry.
It's angry. It's American muscle. Like it's as good as it gets, at least in my eyes. And so like to like have that cool realization like, oh wow, I can just turn around and look at my motor in the back is super sick. But I like that is a huge difference. I also think like the colors nowadays are very different. Just the way like people wrap them and people like I feel like even the base colors are different now. Like people are really into like ghost stripes now. People are really into trim and all this stuff because like all of his were just one basic color. So they're definitely kind of turning into more of a supercar. Like it seems like every single year. I mean, even if you look like the C7 ZR1s and the new like C8 ZR1 that's probably going to come out, like those things are legitimately Ferraris, but in a Corvette body. So I think it's super dope, and I've always been a Corvette fan. So hopefully I have a few more in the garage by the time I retire. I think that'd be pretty sweet to have, you know, just 7-car garage and like 5 Corvettes. That'd be pretty dope.
And like every kid dreams when they get drafted, right? They're always thinking like, oh, what would I do when I get drafted? What would I use signing bonus? Was that like your favorite thing that you did? Or is there something else that you're like, this was the thing that like I always wanted that I was able to get myself?
That was definitely the thing that like I was able to get myself. And like that was 100%, like I said, like that was what I've wanted since I was a itty bitty kid, like 4 years old. So that was definitely the one thing where it's like, it's happening no matter what. Give me it. I love it. It's amazing. Perfect. Let's go. But like probably the coolest thing was being able to give my parents basically payback for the last 4 years of them traveling around the world, traveling around the country, you know, 7 states and 7 weekends. Like that's not cheap, and obviously it's a blessing to have a family that would put forth that kind of money, because you know it's not easy. Like that's hard, no matter where you come from. So it was nice to be able to give them pretty much all of it back, and that was like the most sentimental and most, you know, heartwarming thing that I did with it. But other than that, it's just been pretty small purchases, pretty living within the means. You know, like I try to stay relatively conservative with it. You know, I have nice things. I have nice jewelry, cars, but like I didn't go overboard with it, and the rest of it's already, you know, making money itself. So that's like the biggest thing. But definitely those two were the sentimental and the heartwarming that really like eye-opening experiences.
So taking it back like to those travel ball days, because I think that's where we first connected.
Yeah.
I think you were getting super big on social, and I was like, who is this kid? And this was like, I looked back through the DMs, and there was a DM that I think me and you have talked about where you were like, hey, I just missed you guys at the field. I was like scared to say hi. And I think it was at like one of these old tournaments that like we must have like been in the same place but didn't know, right? Yeah. So like, again, for like people that don't know, like again, this has been going way back since you've been like 11 years old, and I was 15, 16 years old. Like, so for you, do you remember like the early days of following us, Baseball Lifestyle, and some of the first like merchandise that you got from us, just that whole experience for yourself?
Oh yeah, I mean, so it's funny enough, my mom was the one who actually like brought me the brand, because like I think I was 11, or no, I was 11 or 12 when I first got my first like piece of Baseball Lifestyle, and so like. It was right around Christmas time, and you guys just came out with the Ghost Windbreaker, and that was my first thing. So I think I was in 7th grade, because I would have been like 12, so I think that's 7th grade. And so she showed me this brand, and it was just sick, because you guys had like just so many, like a variety of so many different things, like phone cases, and I think you guys had been working with Hall of Fame at the time too. And so like I had like the baseball cross necklace and like all this stuff, right? So it was really cool to look at it now and be like full circle. Like we worked together last year in December, January, and now we're like actually partnering together now, which is just, it's unbelievable to look at it like full circle. It's super, super cool.
The Ghost Windbreaker was a lot of the entry point. That was when we like changed as a company, I think, from a clothing standpoint. That was definitely a big pivot point for a lot of stuff. The first time I saw you was you did an interview, and I don't remember who it was, but you were doing an interview and you were in the black and red baseball season hoodie. And Josh and I knew you guys had been talking, we had shared some stuff and did whatever, and like he showed me the video and I'm like, that's really cool. And like you just kept killing it like for a whole, pretty much from before that through that till now, you killed it. And that's what kind of got us last year. I was like, we have all these baseball season, we're going more than just the black and the red one, like let's ask him if he wants to do it. And you were like, yeah, let's freaking go. Like, and that was an amazing thing. But for us, like, you completely encapsulate what we want to be, and I think that that's more than some of the things that everybody might see, right? Like, you wear clothes that we want kids to aspire to wear. You're doing things, and you are a way that I think we want kids to act. But beyond that, I think one of the things that is like truly important about you is like, as nice and as cool of a person as you seem in interviews and everything else, you're even better when we're all just hanging out separate. And I think that you getting to be so genuine, you really are a great encapsulation of like all of the great things that everybody talks they want in baseball. Be a little flashy, have fun, it's a game, but also with so much respect and greatness about you. So like, you're the perfect athlete for Baseball Lifestyle, and we really appreciate like you being part of this company.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's a blessing to have you guys, with me, and also, I appreciate everything you just said, because that is my thought process. Like, yes, I am flashy. Yes, I wear crazy fashionable clothes, and I have cool jewelry and like all this kind of stuff. But like at the end of the day, it's the ability to have those things as a blessing, and like I don't take those for granted. And the ability to have like these moments with people and meet new people and reach out and network is incredible. Like, the day and age that baseball is now is crazy. And like you see kids all over the world that are just doing so many different things, so many cool things, whether it's 12U kids or 18-year-olds or professional guys now. I mean, like the guys that I looked up to are now the stars when they were first coming out of the league. And now it's like, now I'm right there, scratching on their back. Like, it's insane how quickly like these things change. But it's also incredible how like tightly knit the baseball community is. And so like my thought process is to be that genuine and like real person, because that's who like I've always tried to be on social media, which has always helped me grow that page. All the certain pages. Like, I think the biggest thing I've said on interviews before and often is like, I try to be as transparent as possible on those things, because people need those resources and people need to feel those connections, even if they don't really have them in their lives. Like, I was always the 12-year-old kid that was like looking at the 15 and 16-year-old kids, like, where are they going to play college ball? Like, I want to be like them. And then now like the roles reversed. So like, I just want to kind of give back that same like feeling to those 12-year-olds, because that is that is something special that like I always felt as a kid. Like, and when a big kid would notice you, that's really, really cool. So, you know, that's why I take time to like help out the youth and help out, you know, people in my hometown and whatever it may be. But overall, the baseball community, that is a very special place to me and to like every other baseball player in baseball lifestyle, obviously. So, yeah.
I think that's interesting because I think that's like the truth of why you got so big on social and why we got so big on social, because I was a 15-year-old kid just posting what I wanted. And I remember that you always look up, you didn't really necessarily even look up to the big leaguers. You actually looked up to like the older kid's brother who was like a little bit older than you, who was playing on the big field and you're the younger kid, right? And I think like that's what we were trying to build with the social media, and that's what you build. For me, I remember like when we hit 100K, everything kind of like took off, and I remember that exact moment from like a growth standpoint. Do you remember building your social, like those like time blocks of like, hey, like now you're at what, 382, 383, roughly? Like, not many big leaguers have that following. Not many people, not many teams have that following, right? We say it all the time that BL has more followers than probably 90% of the league, and teams included. Why do you think that you have that following, and like what do you think is your secret sauce that kids that are 12 that want to be you, how do they do that for their social?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, like I said, is like being transparent, but it's also like providing good content at the same time and being interactive. Like, you know, I answer DMs, whether it's, you know, a 12-year-old kid or a dad or a mom, like whatever it may be. Like, I try and get back to those people because they're asking genuinely good questions, and they do care about their son or themselves, and that's good. They're growing the game, right? So I try and take time to answer those people and give back to them, because, you know, you're not really anywhere without your fans, without a support group. And even if they're not directly in your circle, they're still supporting you, so you owe it to them to help them as well, right? So the transparency is a huge thing. But then on top of that, it's also just like, I have a different wave of content that a lot of people haven't seen before. Like, everything is extremely high quality and professional. That's hard to get at a young age. Like, you know, I was blessed that one of my best friends is just really gifted with multimedia, so that helped, right? But then like also the access that you have these days, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, each of those all kind of bounce off of each other. Like Instagram, I have like a target audience of this. TikTok, I have a target audience of this. In Twitter, I have a target audience of that. So all three of those kind of bounce off, and when you share those profiles and platforms with each other, they all kind of just form one big brand, as everybody calls it. So, you know, obviously, like I said, transparency is number one, but a lot of it is also just quality, good content that a lot of people love and a lot of people like enjoy watching.
For sure. And we see it in a lot of other sports, right? And you see Bronny James, you see other people from different sports growing a huge audience before they make it professional, but you very, very rarely have seen it in baseball, and you're kind of like a very new version of what that's going to be. Julio Rodriguez does some stuff like it with YouTube channels and stuff like that. Bryce Harper was a big name, big everything else, but he's kind of tried to move himself out of the spotlight later. Was there anybody that you saw who inspired you from a pro side that you were like, this is somebody who I look to for inspiration as a player, but also as an off-the-field personality, what I do and how I do it?
Well, it's funny you brought up Harper, because ever since I was a kid, Harper's been my guy. Like, try to mimic his swing, try to mimic his lower half, try to mimic his like passion. Like, that dude plays the game so hard that people have to tell him to stop playing so hard so he doesn't get hurt. Like, I don't know, like it was his rookie year and he runs into the wall, his face is bleeding, but he made a hell of a catch and ended up hitting a double like the next inning. So, like, that kind of passion for the game and love for the game is pretty much unteachable. Like, it's an intangible. So the ability to have that and take that, you know, as much of it as you can, take in as much as you can, is huge. And like, I got to grow up pretty much watching his entire professional career, and kind of seeing him move through like the most hated to the most wanted to the most valuable, right? So like, that was a really cool like shift for him. And you know, I feel like he got some hate he didn't deserve, but it's just because he wanted it more than everybody else. He was always putting in like as much as you possibly can into every effort of the game. And not that other people aren't, it's just like his aura when he is on the field is unmatched. Like, that dude steps in the box in the bottom of the ninth, tie game, probably gonna lose a game. Because like, he's unbelievable. He's a great player. So.
Have you linked up with him yet? Have you got to talk to Harper?
Yeah, that's like the dream link up, dude. That's literally the dream link up. I walked in, we were playing Clearwater in our low A playoffs, and I walked into Clearwater Phillies with a Bryce Harper like mashup shirt on, graphic tee. and I was just hoping he was there, but he wasn't. I got kind of sad, honestly. But
I love that you walked in with the shirt like, hey, I want you to know that I'm a fan right out of the gate.
Yeah, dude,
Maybe you'll look at me a little different.
I think it's funny. Harper's that same guy for me too when I'm growing up.
Yeah.
Like, and I always say it because like I've been around all these big league guys in a different way than you have, and I think the one guy that would still make me nervous to meet this day would only be Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
And I'm exactly the same way. It's something about him that's just different.
Yeah, and it's like we were talking about it earlier, like off camera, and like going to the Espy'S, like that was just crazy, man. Like the amount of talent, wealth, experience, knowledge, effort, championships, MVPs in that room was unbelievable. But it still doesn't compare to like meeting your like idol, right? And it's like I could look at Patrick Mahomes that was 3 seats down and be like, hey man, you're Patrick Mahomes, big fan, blah blah blah. But if I went to like Bryce Harper, I'd probably like fumble over my words. Like,
yeah,
it's the way you look at your idol. It's just that's how it is, right?
Do you have any crazy like stories that like you could say from the Espy'S that like something that happened to you? Like you just said Patrick Mahomes was 3 seats next to you, but like any run-ins or anything that was like very interesting to you?
I thought it was okay. So completely caught me off guard, but we were sitting in the front row, and I think the funniest thing was I forgot that they like use fillers. So people were like up and moving during commercial breaks like all the time. I was so confused. So that's like the funny story because I was literally just lost on like why people are just up and moving the whole time. But I think the coolest part was actually it was Mahomes and Kelce. Like when they announced what we had won, like the male athlete of the year for Gatorade, they like looked down and gave like a nod of respect. And that was like the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Those are 2 of the biggest dogs in the United States, right? So that was sick. And then like at the like post Espy'S party and the post Gatorade party, like DK Metcalf, Jayson Tatum, all those guys were there, and they were just like chopping it up, having normal conversations. Like it was weird to be like in the same room as them, and it's kind of a cool realization. You realize like this is where you're heading if you continue like keep your priorities right. And so that was really cool. Those were definitely like the coolest 2 moments. And then I would say like another one was seeing, like just watching Liam Hendricks win Comeback Player of the Year. That was like the coolest like tear-jerking moment ever. I mean, after the year he had, incredible. So those were top 3 moments of Espy'S 2023.
I got 2 things there. One about keeping priorities straight. Like we were walking through the city and we were talking about how you got in last night, and you were like, I went right to the gym and got a workout in last night. Like you're even on the road, you're doing what you're doing, but like priorities, you still went to the gym, you still got your work in because the upcoming season is going to be important to you, and I want to talk about that. The second thing is Liam is one of the coolest people. I went to a wedding and Liam was there, and we were at the same table. Him and his wife are like 2 of the nicest people in the entire world. Oh, yeah. And Liam was just such a genuine person, and he didn't know me, like why we were there, whatever else, but like just talking, doing everything else, having a great time, being so genuine, talking as a person. So when he was going through everything, one, it was great to see him become a great player because I always rooted for him in that regard. Then after having everything happen and then coming back from it and doing it again, like I wish nothing but success for that man everywhere he goes. So I agree, that was an amazing story to hear. But priorities and you working out, like you're coming into your first full season. What's the off season been like, and like what are you looking forward to about the year?
Like the off season has been like the best off season yet because there's 0 distractions. Like if there are distractions, you're creating them. Yep. And that's a priority thing. Like I don't really like to get involved with that. I stay close to my loved ones. I hang out with my fiance and I go to baseball. Like that's like and I play siege. Like that's the 4 things I do in a daily life. So it's been the best off season yet. There's no school, no extra stress. You literally are focusing on your job because that's what it is now, right? It's a job, but it's something you love. So like waking up and loving what you do and doing what you love is very cool. Like it's definitely a blessing, and obviously like you guys are doing the same, right? You guys are all loving what you guys do, so it makes the priorities that much easier. And the support staff that we have at Detroit and the managerial staff we have at Detroit, coordinators, like if you're not getting better, it's on you. these guys are incredible. They're hands-on, they're texting, they're calling, they're videoing, whatever it may be. So like it's been, I don't want to say an easier off season because I'm working harder than I ever have, especially after some failures last year. But it's just an easier process because the only thing you have to focus on is baseball.
Yeah.
So talking about that, you mentioned the word failure. And I think that's an interesting one because I think most kids that would look at you on social, right? Because we post our highlights on Instagram and on all these socials, but we all go through things separately from that. Most kids would think that Max Clark never failed in his life. Batted, what, 600 in high school?
Yeah.
Something crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, baseball's a game of failure, but like anyone batting 600, they would say nowhere near failure. But you said you went through some things in your first season. Like, how did you handle it, and give, like, I guess the younger kids and people that look up to you an insight that, hey, like, I am human, right? I am Gatorade Player of the Year. I am the, first round draft pick. But like, what is that for you? What does that word mean for you?
It was such an interesting toll for me because the first week of it was not fun, like at all. Like it was actually like it was just humiliating at that point. Like it was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I here? Like it was just such a mind
Mind-bleep?
Yes, mind bleep that you had no idea what was going on. It was just so many different like ups and downs to where, in high school you can kind of ride the emotion roller coaster because most of it is like really high. Like, and then if it's bad, it's only like kind of bad, right? But then you're gonna have like really bad games. Like Kevin McGonigal and I are best friends, and we were laughing one day, and he asked me, he was like, "Have you ever had a golden sombrero?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Neither have I." And he's like, "Do you think I'll ever get one?" And I was like, "Dude, I swear, if I ever think I'm gonna get a golden sombrero, I'm bunting my fourth at bat." And I was like, I won't let it happen. He's like, "Oh, it's gonna happen." And I was like, "No way." Literally the next day, I got golden sombreroed, and on my fourth at bat, I tried to bunt, I missed, and then ended up striking out anyway. So, like, yeah. So like, that is the reality of like professional baseball. Like these dudes are so good, and there are going to be ups and downs for everything, and that goes for life too. Like, no matter where you come from, there's going to be positive and negative days, and the goal is to make more positives than negatives. And even if you're not, even if you go like 1 for 4, 1 for 5, 0 for 5, you can still make great plays in the outfield. You can still make great plays with your feet. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's not all about, did I go 5 for 5 with 2 home runs and a double, right? And that's what I had to learn, and I had to learn it very quickly because I was just slowly digging myself deeper and deeper in a hole. But then once you're able to separate that and genuinely not ride the wave but control it and control your emotions the whole time, no matter how it's going, A, you start to play better because you're out of your head, and B, it makes the game a lot more fun even when you're playing bad. Like, playoff baseball was the most fun I've ever had in my life. The week prior to playoff baseball, I think I went 1 for 16, and it was like fun. Like, nobody hears that, right? Like, you just played the worst baseball week of your life and you had fun. That's good. It means you're surrounded by really good people, you love the game, and you're going to continue to come back the next day. Like, that's also the blessing about pro ball. You play 6 games a week every day, right? Like, it's
grind.
It's nuts. Like, you don't have time to dwell on your 1 for 4 game with 3 lineouts.
Right.
Because the next day, the same dude's throwing 97 with an 86 mile an hour slider, and if you don't lock in, you're done. You're toast. So it's kind of just it's very cliche, but everybody's like, don't be short-minded. Like, be short-minded about your failures, and be like, just like throw it away, leave it at the gate. Like, that's like so real in pro baseball. It's just so real. And even in high school ball, like, who cares how you play the day before? Just play better the next day. It's baseball. It's a game of failure. If you succeed 3 out of 10 times, you're in the Hall of Fame. Everybody's heard that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Well, it's literally true. It's unbelievable. Even I didn't believe that until I started playing pro ball. It's like, wow, everybody's good. Doesn't matter what level you're at. Doesn't matter who you're facing. Like, you wake up or you roll out of bed, you face 97 with a cutter, and you figure it out. And that's part of it. So, it's just about being level-headed. That's like the biggest lesson I learned, was just control what you can control and play your ass off.
Now, what about going back to like off the field and where we're at now? We've come together, and we're, when this all comes out, we're gonna have your collection, your first signature collection of clothing that you helped design. We worked together on it. Talk to me about like a little bit of clothing, a little bit about what we put together for your collection, why you why it speaks to who you are, and a little bit about that, like your first experience with something that's your signature line.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really cool to put together. And like for those of you watching, I mean, for me, fashion is about being, different and like streetwear. Like I'm very into streetwear. I want it to be organic and authentic. I want it to be like just different. I don't want it to be the same, Nike tee or Adidas hoodie. Like I want it to be something that's very specific and very, true to you. So we came together and formed something really dope that's going to come out January 26th. So I'm excited for it. It's going to be kind of a crossover between streetwear and baseball, and I'm kind of excited to roll it out. The guys did a great job putting it together. Great job, you guys. It was awesome. But no, like it's gonna be sweet. I think everybody's gonna love it. It's really is who I am, because I love fashion. I love baseball. It's literally you just throw it together. It's like chocolate and vanilla swirl, dude. It's amazing.
Well, I think with that, the reason behind, right, time to shine, which is the slogan across the shirt. And we kind of talked in our initial meeting, was like, hey, like, listen, like, we're not going to lie to each other. You're like, I'm a cocky guy, like, arrogant guy. Not in a bad way, but, like, that's just who I am, like we said, right? Like,
Sounds familiar.
Sounds like me, yeah. And you. Yeah, a little bit. But that's who we are as a business, right? That's why we all link up together and why it all makes sense. But you also wanted it to be, at the same time, not too much in your face. You want it to be, like, a little low-key, but, like, you also want it to represent who you are. So, time to shine. What does that mean to you when you kind of break that down? And why is time to shine Max Clark?
For me, like, that's been something I've always heard from, like, parents, friends, everything, because it's, every time I step on the field, I try and make it feel like I'm there. I want the other team to know I'm there, right? And so time to shine, like when you think about a big game, you think about the lights are bright. When that one person steps in the box, whether you're winning or losing, he's going to be a problem. When that guy steps on the mound, he's going to be a problem. When that girl steps on the mound, when that girl steps in the box, shooting a free throw, whatever it may be. I mean, this goes for all sports. Like,
right.
The ability to shine when the lights are the brightest are what separates the greats from the greatest, right? And that is kind of my biggest thought process when I was forming this, is I always want to shine when the lights are bright, and I want to shine the brightest when they are the brightest.
Love that. Speaking of like other sports, this goes to anything, right? Who are athletes in other sports that you admire like Harper?
Oh, man, that's a good one, because I don't know if I have an answer for you.
And if not like Harper, just somebody who you look at and you look at what they've done. Like, I would say immediately for me, looking at LeBron, and you weren't around really when LeBron was coming through, right? So he was in high school getting all this notoriety as a player, and everybody knew his name, and everybody knew what was up, and instantaneously comes in, and there's some hardship, but he wins, and then he goes all the way through, right? Yeah. And I look at Harper, and we see the same thing, right? He came in at 16, he's on the cover of magazines, he's getting drafted. I think he got pulled up when he was 19, right? And pretty much from that point, he's been a great player. Like, is there anybody who you look at and you go, that career, that stuff is part of what I'm trying to do? Do you take any pointers from how they did it?
I definitely, like looking at it from that perspective, and like I didn't really grow up with him, but Kobe, man, like his mentality to control people and control the game with any facet he can, whether it's mentality, whether it's defense, whether it's offense, whether it's he does whatever it takes to win. And on top of that, he has one of the nastiest mentalities I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's unbelievable. He's going to beat you, and then he's going to let you know he beat you, and then he's going to beat you again. And he's going to keep that process going the entire game. That's the mentality that I want to have. Like, you can't teach that. And no matter how hard I try, I'll probably never get to his level, because that's just such a new and just unbelievable level of A, discipline, and B, just straight dog mentality. And so, like, that's where you set your goals at, and I keep chasing that, you're only going to get better. Because if you get to his level, that means like something really good happened. Yeah. If you get to half his level, you're still on the right path, right? So, like, it's just the way he went about his business is something that I will always try to perfect myself.
I think That wraps up for me. I mean, dude, from both of us, I just want to say thank you. And I think what Bill reiterated in the beginning, that I want to make sure that people know about you from social to real life. Like, you really are one of the most genuine, like, most amazing dudes that I've ever met. So no matter what you do in life, football or outside of it, people need to know that, you know, you are who you portray you are. And we appreciate you joining us, man.
Well, likewise, man. I really appreciate it. It's been a blast. Shout out NYC.